Well, thank you for tuning in to the F5 Recovery Radio.
He said one drink of an energy drink. And look at him now.
Yep. Super happy that you are joining us. Thank you to F5 Project, the Ridge Treatment and Reentry Center, our brand new sponsor, sponsoring our season and location, H&I Nutrition, and of course, GoAwayBear.com, just supporting our season, which is amazing. And so thank you to my co-host for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Glad to see you.
Yep, thanks.
What are we talking about today?
This is the final entry in personal stories.
Ricky's.
Mm-hmm. It's fine.
Oh,
The deep, dark secrets of Ricky.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, Scotty, I guess you're interviewing Ricky.
Ricky,
Yeah.
tell us your story.
Thank you, Scott.
I'm to the point.
Best interview question ever.
Right. Yep. Tell me your story. Well, so kind of growing up, so I grew up in Pasadena, California. I'm one of two, so me and my sister. She's 18 months younger than me. My dad was a youth pastor. Like it was like kind of that quintessential, church growing up, preacher's kid. My dad was a youth pastor. My mom was a Sunday school teacher. The whole nine. But when my parents got saved, before they got married, before they had me and my sister, and they got saved, they're like completely turned their lives around. They were, living in sin, and then they did like a very hard 180. And the reason why I say that is because like our upbringing was not hard in the sense of like being mean or like punishment or anything like that, but it was just like strict, especially when it came to anything that was related. I wouldn't say to God, like anything that was related to church was like extremely strict.
What do you mean by strict?
So like my dad being the youth pastor, we had to be at anytime the church was open for service, we were there.
What happens if you didn't?
I got spanked.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Yeah. When I had a choice to not go, then you got spanked. But I mean, for the 14, 15 years of my life, like it was just like, that was the norm. Yeah. So I never got an opportunity to play anything that was like after school or had practice. I could go if it was, so we had church, we had 4 different services on Sunday, including Sunday school. We had church on Tuesday nights, and we had church on Friday. So literally like to try to play any sort of sport was probably going to end up being on a Friday. So couldn't do that. Any sort of like after school activities, generally did things on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So couldn't do any of those. So anything that I got to like do in school had to be like between the hours of like school time. Like nothing else got an opportunity
That's
to do.
strict.
that is strict.
Did you go to church now?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
All
Once
the
a
time.
week?
Yeah.
Sinner.
I know, it's funny, like think about it now. It's like, oh man, how much church is like my son will never know, like, 'cause I will never subject him to that. He will never have to go through that because
You make him go to church?
Well, I'll make him go to church, but not like that often.
How old?
I mean, he goes now because
No. How old? When do you stop telling him?
to go to church when he's 18.
Oh.
If you're under my, that's one of the things I think I do take from my dad. It's like if you're under my house,
Yep.
it's my rules.
You're in my house. You do what I say.
Not as I do.
Right.
You go to church, I'm not going.
That would
I'm going to watch the
that would be
Vikings game.
hypocritically strict.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it was
What if he doesn't?
he's never not gone. I've never like there's
Well, I'm just saying, he's 3, right?
well
2.5?
year and a half.
Year and a half. He'll be 2.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, when he gets to be 14, say,
Mm-hmm.
he's like little Ricky,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and he's like rebellious. Do you have any idea?
Little Ricky? Rebellious? Were you rebellious when you were 14?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying you're little Ricky.
You're thinking you
I went to
or
church too.
me at 14.
No, I went to church. I was always pissed off at the Catholics because they got to go to church on Saturday night. We had to go Sunday morning when you were hungover. And my mom made us go. My dad never went to church,
Yeah.
but my mom was like all the time.
All the kids, like you and all of your brothers and sisters.
Well, a lot of them were
still
pretty much older than me. So,
Yeah.
but
The ones that,
The ones that are home, yeah. We had to go to church. You smell like beer. 15, stop it.
Yep. Still go to church.
You're going to hell.
I mean, it never even crossed my mind to like drink or do anything like that I wasn't supposed to do at that age.
I told you. He's gonna be a little Ricky. Oh, he's gonna listen and follow the rules.
Okay. Why don't you, as far as a question from the interviewing part of it, let's next that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Little Ricky's going to be Little Ricky.
Yeah. Yep.
You're going to listen. He's going to do everything.
Yep.
No drinking, no
So
drugs.
the question is if you had a little Adam,
Yes. There you go.
what would you do? 14 years old, and he's just like. I mean, when I was 14, I was like, listen, I'm not coming home.
Right.
Like, I'm just gonna go. I'll go wherever I want, or I would go to. They would drop me, like, bring me to church, and then I would sneak out.
Yeah, I did that from time to time.
Oh shit!
What?
Okay.
You wild, man.
Me and my like best friend Gabriel, there was a KFC like literally right around the corner from our church, so we would like sneak out. But then they were on to us. The church ushers ladies were like on to us. They knew we were up to no good. So then he would go to the bathroom, and then he would sneak out the like go to the bathroom, and he would sneak out the back door, and then I would like just go to the front door to go sneak out to go to KFC. That was like our little thing. What?
You rebel.
Yeah, that's how it all began. That's why.
Okay.
Well, no, not really. But I mean, it was like I think that was like just well, it's weird to say the taste, but like it was like kind of the first time of like doing anything like.
Where you got the adrenaline, you know, the little rush, like, I'm going to get caught.
Yeah. And then we never did.
How did your dad not catch you when he was a pastor?
Because he's like
out doing the business.
Like, so when he wasn't sitting in the pulpit, he was sitting in the very first row, and we would be like 6 or 7 rows back, and then Gabriel's family would be like a couple more behind us. So it worked out really well. So like his eyes were, you know, as we all should have been, right? Like on the whatever's happening in the pulpit. And then he would go, and then I would
Nobody noticed, like, why are these two guys getting up going to the bathroom every service?
Every service. Nope. Never got caught. It was great. Yeah, it was, and it's funny that like they found out obviously later, but like it was just really interesting that like for years we were doing that. I don't even remember how we even got money. Like how do we even had money to? Sometimes we would just go just to go. Like it was just like
Get out.
Yeah, just get out of church because church would just be forever. Like we would be sitting in there. Like, I mean that was by that point we already had Sunday school at 9. And then like there was like the post Sunday schools, and then it was like service at 11, and then we had to come back at 6 o'clock for evening service. So it was like just there. So it was just like, oh my God, there's just too much church. We got to get out of here. And they would just go and just talk and just like laugh because we got away with
something. Nice.
Yeah. And it's funny because like all of like growing up, I always got in trouble like at home. Any sort of anything that was like,
different than our trouble.
Yeah, very much. It was like talking back or like just little things. But like my sister never got in trouble for anything, like ever, until. No, she never got in trouble. It was always me. Like she was the type of person who would just like sit and just watch me. Like, okay, let me see where you go with this. She wouldn't encourage it. She would like, you know, you're gonna get in trouble. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm just gonna go off and do it. And like I think that dynamic kind of like led into when things like. I remember the first time I stole a notebook from like the school like bookstore or whatever, and I didn't get caught, so that did the second time, and that's when I got caught. And Lisa was like, "What are you doing? Why would you like? You already stole one. You needed a second notebook." In my mind, but it wasn't even about the notebook. It was just the like that adrenaline of like, can I get away with this? Can I do it? And then, man, I got beat from my mom. I got beat from my dad, and the bishop gave it to me at church on that Sunday. But that's
like beat physically.
I mean, with the belt.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
by the bishop too.
Yeah.
Have you never been spanked by anyone outside of your family?
No.
Oh my God, it must be a South thing or California.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's where they're from. They're from the South. Yeah, it was like
they'd catch you doing some shit. They'd spank you, and then my grandma would be like, "Thank you." Thank you for caring about my grandchild.
Yeah, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
Like it was like because of care. Like we spank you because we love you.
Yeah, it was a community thing. My mom was from Minnesota, so when we lived in Alabama, she was like, "You do not touch my kid." Right?
Yeah, not.
My dad would be like, "Beat him.
Yeah.
He's
Just-
got it coming.
Make him walk and find a peach tree limb.
Yeah.
Beat his ass."
That was very like, so like my grandma's
We're
from
in
the south. No, it was, but
It was
like
California?
Yeah.
That's not south.
But my grandma was from Virginia. The bishop and pastor, like of our church, were from not Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina. But then like they came to California in the 50s or 60s, something like that, and started the church. And like I remember the last time I got spanked when I was 16 and a half.
Oh, dude, my grandma spanked my dad when he was 17.
Yeah. Like it was like,
Yeah.
well, I was very much an adult,
Grown ass man.
but yeah, still getting spanked.
17, but
Yeah.
You can go to war almost.
Yeah. Apparently,
Yeah.
not hit
my
back.
grandma, she did not care.
That's just
You live in this house, I will spank you if you
Yeah. And I think the only reason why my grandma didn't is because she didn't have enough strength to like.
got fragile.
Yeah.
Oh,
But if she could have, she absolutely would have.
dude, my dad spanked my ass because I shaved my brother's head. Like
That's probably
it was
a good reason.
what?
Is it?
The hair's
would
gonna
you
grow
shave?
back.
But did he want it shaved?
I don't know.
I'm sure.
It's not like I forced him to do it.
Well, that's what
I
I'm
just talked
saying.
him into it.
Did you? Well, that's different. If you held him down and shaved his head,
You had to get to that point to say that it was different? Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I'm
man.
like I don't know, but I couldn't justify like every spanking. Like, was that worth it? On both ends, was that worth getting spanked for? No. Was it worth getting in trouble over? No. Like, you would get spanked for anything. It would be the slightest of things. Like, obviously, like, I remember one time I called my mom the B word, and that was like, yeah, in front of my cousin, because I was trying to like show out.
brother.
I had 3 boy
the B
cousins.
word.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, what's up, brother? No, definitely not what I said. But I said it under my breath. Thought I mumbled it. Definitely did not. And I like outside. She came through that screen door so fast.
Yeah.
And I hollered. They definitely.
Your dad didn't hear you.
Yeah. Well, he found out about it.
Oh,
So did you get 2 of them?
sure.
Oh,
You get 2?
Well, it would have been different had he heard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Had it been him
Direct.
in the den.
You could be from Minnesota and be completely against any kind of spankings if you're a dad, and hear your kid call your wife or their mom a bitch. I bet you believe in spankings real quick.
Yeah. But so then when I moved out, like, then it was just like, all right, cool. Like, so I went to try to go as like far away as possible, and which was like 6 hours from home. Went to Sac State for school, and it was like that was like the first time like being on my own, and like it was like, of course, everything that I was taught, everything that like I knew what to do, like completely went out the window. Like I remember drinking for the first time, I did drugs for the first time, like just all the things. I'm like, just I never got enough.
Free.
Yeah, just like this freedom to like just see what this is all like. Mind you,
I didn't know you did drugs.
a lot. But it wasn't like
It's just a fucking vacuum.
because it was like, oh my god, yeah. I would go to like festivals and all sorts of stuff.
What?
Yeah, just try all sorts.
I'm glad we're doing this personal story. Like I thought you were. I just imagine you were a schoolboy and
Had a couple
follow the
beers.
rules.
2 beers here, and then when I have 2 beers, I'm done. No.
I mean,
got crunked.
yeah, literally, like it was like everything I can get my hands on. I was like,
Oh.
I was just trying it. But that was like my response of like, I'm going to show them. And of course, like trying to keep it together, can't. And then eventually, like I flunk on my second semester. And so parents, of course, find out like, what are you doing up there? Like, what's happening? All of that. Like, pull me out of school, make me come back home. And I remember like my mom just like that Sunday, just like literally placing me on. I mean, she didn't carry me, but she like hand on my shoulder, walked me to the altar, like right when service started, and was like, sit on this altar and pray. And I was like, so I'm just praying, like, and I sat there for like 2 hours, give or take, or Nick kneeled on the like altar because where our church was.
Well, the
like,
service was going?
made me sit there
Was it like a punishment?
That was a punishment because of course, like I was not that I'm like, I feel like I was an idiot by telling her the truth, and she was like, and I can't lie to my mom. Like it was just like I just told her the truth. I was like, yeah, well, and then
Gabriel did it.
I tried to blame it on my roommate. She was like, well, Hugo was my roommate. So, well, just because Hugo, like that, he's going to jump off a cliff, would you go with him? And I was like, no, but in my mind I was like, yeah, we did a couple times. I was like, yeah, we did.
I'm going to tell you the whole story.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you everything. I'm just going to tell you enough. And then,
get me on the altar for 2 hours.
Yeah, literally. And I don't even think I told her, I know I didn't tell her I did drugs at that time because it was like, it was already bad enough to say that I was drinking, but like if I told her I was doing drugs because our family has some history with some different things, I would have gotten another spanking at 18, 19, whatever. Like it would have been like that kind of like cut off and So I'd sit on the altar, pray. I was like, okay, so now I'm back home. So I was like, all right, what am I gonna do? So I just like back home, living with my parents again, just like the embarrassment of it all, and just like, okay, let me just get myself back on track. So I enroll in a new Christian school because, that seemed like the right choice to do to like get myself away from the problem. Roll in a Christian school, get married, like graduate, get married, and was like, all right, sweet. Like life is on track. Things are better now. So I'm like at this Christian school thinking like, okay, this is going to be like so much better for me, which still drinking, of course, like doing like all the things that like I still was doing was still there. Like you don't get away from it. But in my mind and like what I convinced my parents, I was like, all right, can you pay for this school? Cause this is going to be good and all of that. And so people weren't drinking, but like it was or people weren't doing drugs, but they were definitely drinking. And we were going to Vegas like often. And I was like,
what?
Yeah.
Where were you?
That's the deal.
Yeah. So like,
college.
Yeah, this is college.
Like goddamn, junior high, Vegas. Totally missed that.
Yeah, stay with the story.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to figure out spaces. God damn it.
Yeah, so then we're going to Vegas for the first time, like as an adult, and I'm like, man, this is sweet, and this is like heaven. So then, of course, the people that I go to Vegas with consistently are back to the same things that I was doing all over again. Except now I was working at Wells Fargo. I was making crazy levels of money. And so I was like, so now I had access and I had money. So I was like, okay, well, the drugs that I was doing before paled compared to like cocaine and heroin and like a lot of the other stuff that I was able to do. Cause it's like, it's Vegas. Like you literally could, if you had the money, you can find it. And I'm like, okay. But then, so I'm married at this point.
Then I ended up at KFC.
Well, it's McDonald's.
There you had massive amount of cocaine coming out of there.
Well, it keeps changing. It was like KFC, then like freshman year was like Taco Bell, and then at that point there was definitely one that I was
a drug. It was the trap houses.
Yeah. Yep. It was.
We used to say marijuana was a dick.
No, it's the damn fast food.
It's the food.
Yeah, Super Size Me was right. Yeah, so then I'm married at this point, and I remember there was one night, so I leave Friday at like 5 o'clock. My buddy, we get off work, fill up his car, roll out to Vegas, and we just had like the time of our lives, and we were just like high in all the right ways. Like we were just winning a ton of money and just all these things, and like I remember it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. So the plan was that we both had to work on Saturday, so we're like, all right, we're just gonna go hang out, and then we're just going to do 12 hours in Vegas and then come back and then go to work and be fine. Do a bump and call it good. We go to a McDonald's parking lot, pass out in the like parking lot. So we go to McDonald's, pass out in the parking lot, just wake up and just blood red shot eyes from, alcohol and drugs. It's all the combination, and just like fly home. How we didn't get a ticket, I have no idea. Like just rolling through the grapevine. Still go to work that day. It was late, but I still go to work. Get home. Ex-wife was like, "You okay? Like, what happened? What did you go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I had told her I was going out." And I was like, "Oh, we're going to be staying overnight." Da da da. She was like, "You really need didn't know anything about the drugs." She was like, "You really need to stop drinking." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. I'll stop drinking." So at that point, I was like, "Okay, drinking and drugs are not feeling literally seeing the physical effects of it." But I was like, well, when I was gambling, I was up. So I was like, well, no one really knows any difference because it's not doing anything chemically wise, like you can't tell other than, you know, in your account or what you're paying for. So that was like kind of where things started. And so after that point, we moved to Fargo. No, before we moved to Fargo, like I had a business, so I sold my business, and so I was like had just a ton of money. So I was like, all right, one last hurrah.
What was your business?
I had a mobile notary company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I sold that because we were, you know, had like she wanted to move back closer to her family. She was from Glenwood, so I was like, all right, we're gonna move back to Fargo. So I sold my business, had a ton of money. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna like one last hurrah, and just like, man, I easily blew through 10 grand that we were supposed to move with, and I was like, how do I tell her that we don't have any money to like move with, like, and so thankfully like my parents like helped out and like helped us pay for all like the moving truck and like to get our stuff there. But I was like, I still got to figure out this money. And so I had borrowed money from, you know, a buddy, we'll say, so that way I could like replace my account, and that way we can like pretend like everything was fine. And I was like, all right, sweet. But I had no intention on paying him back because I'm like, I didn't tell him I was going to North Dakota. I just said I was like, you know, like, hey, dad, on my luck, I just need, you know, if you can just float me some money. This was in January. Like, you know, I'm going to put a bunch of money on the Super Bowl. Like, I'll get you this cash back. It's not going to be a problem. So we move. I bet on the Super Bowl. I hit it. I get him paid back. Partially. I didn't pay him all the money because I, of course, then just like started playing some more parlays because that's what you do. So I paid him most of his money back and then end up losing more than like all the money that I had or I had prepared that we moved like to Fargo with. I blew through all of that. And then like just all the tension and just all the things that we had before we moved was of course all there. So then like we're fighting and we're trying to go to counseling and just trying to do all these things. And it just was like not working because just my heart was in it, but like I just still was trying to like just juggle all these different things and couldn't see myself out. Wasn't trying to do anything. I was trying to make the relationship work, but I definitely wasn't trying to work on myself. And because I thought like if I could just be a better husband, but still be, you know, POS human, then it'll still balance out because I'm doing all this good as a husband. I'm going to church, doing all these things. It's like that should like balance out all the very, very shitty things that I was doing. Of course, in my mind, that all made sense. So then we get divorced and I'm like, okay, well, I just need to make some quick money and I'm going to go back home, you know, and just kind of do that. So I got a job as a bartender, just working cash and still like getting to Fargo was like, in my mind was like a godsend because I'm like, they had pig wheel and they had like blackjack in the bars and they had like all of these like gambling games that normally you'd have to like drive to in California. Cause you know, they obviously the casinos and other things like we didn't have, like we had Indian reservations, but like everything was like a drive to. With this, I'm like, I could, from when we were living downtown from our house, I could stop, which I did. I stopped at the Bismarck it was the Bismarck. Then I would go to Empire. Then I could go to Dempsey's. Then Fort Knox. Oh, before Fort Knox, go to Rudy's. Like I can literally gamble all the way down and gamble all the way back home and not have to like think twice.
That's how I am when I leave the casino.
Yeah.
Like I'll start walking out and then I'll see some goddamn machine.
Yep.
And I'll start hitting that machine and be like, all right, I got to go. And then I'll just keep walking out and I'll keep hitting machines on the way out.
Yeah. Literally just getting, and it was perfect because it was like, all right, sweet.
I never thought about doing that with casinos.
Yeah. I was like, you know, this table hit and go to the next spot. You know, like I'm going to go to the, like the bomb shelter. So I was like, gamble there. Like, oh, all right, I'm up now. I can go upstairs, do whatever. Right. And it was just like this, like consistent, like it never processed that. I'm like, man, this isn't normal because like all the people that I was gambling with I would see all the different places. Like, I mean, they seem to be in my mind, like they seem to be doing fine. None of them were married. Like, again, there was a lot of signs that I was like, these probably should be people you're hanging out with. But I'm like, of the friends that I have, I'm still trying to figure out if I'm even staying. Like, what's, you know, I'm like, I'm just going to burn all this to the ground and do what I did. Do everything that I did from California here. I'm going to do all that here and go back to California. And so then,
50-50.
yeah. So then it was like December, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like so far in the hole. And that guy who I still had like owed money to started calling and like calling. And I was like, oh man. So I was like, oh, I got to do something. So I was like, all right, Lord, like if you can just help me figure this out, like I promise I'll be on the straight and narrow, right? Making that promise. So it's
called the foxhole prayer.
Yeah. That's literally what it was. It was like, God, I'm just in so much of a hole. So then I got a job. I was working. I had another job. I had 4 jobs at that time. So I was like, I'm going to bust my butt over like the Christmas break. I met Jelsa during that point. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to like accumulate all this money. I was literally living on a guy's couch. Like, why she stayed with me, I have no idea. Like, I was like, he had a double-decker couch, and like my.
No, he didn't.
Yes. He did not.
Yep. Yes. So my where I slept was up here, and then where we hung out was down here. So like I had like my clothes in this little like
moved like 5 feet.
Yeah, like all my clothes in the like
television.
Yeah, it was like in the laundry room, like it was little like we called it Narnia because it was like this. It was like underneath the stairs, so like the room kind of just like slanted down. So I just literally pushed all my clothes in this like cubby and like slept on a couch, and I was like. Because I was like, I didn't want to like rent. I was like, this is my gambling money. Like, I don't want to like do anything else. Because I'm like, I need to put my money towards this. And so that was my normal. And then eventually they were like, all right, this fast forward to June. Like, all right, we're moving out. We're going to like, what are you going to do? And I was like, you guys are moving out? Like, I was like, oh my God, like this sucks. Move out? Yeah, I was like, I had this.
The couch?
Yeah, I was like, this was perfect. I paid like, I don't know, they charged like $100 for like rent and just to give something towards the utility, just to like contribute something. And so then I like got a place downtown because I was like, there's no way I'm going anywhere else. Cause I'm like, that's my neighborhood. Like I need my people. I'm gonna be back closer downtown again. So I got a little place downtown, living on an air mattress, and it was just such a wild like time, just bartending, cash jobs, just doing all the things. And so then it was at this point when I started to. When I was meeting up with more of my friends, that I, kind of met through Justin, just other people, it was like, okay, well, if I would always have to get off work, so I was like, okay, cool, like, all right, I'm gonna meet you guys after work, but I would always tell them to meet me like farther south downtown, so like where Mezzaluna was, like Dempsey's was like the closest bar right behind me, but they had a whole like. The blackjack was right in the front, so I was like, all right, well, meet me at like Sports Bar or something like. At the very far end of like downtown, because then I would get off work early, go to Dempsey's, gamble, do whatever, and then go and meet up with them. Like, oh man, sorry I'm late, guys. I just got off work. Like just playing this like ideal that somehow this made sense to like pre-go out, or when it was like before work or if I had a day off, then I would go Dempsey's or Side Street. Those are like my 2 like primary places I would go and gamble. And then I would go to those places first and then be like, okay, we're going to meet up at 6. Cool. You know what? I would go there at 3 for like happy hour and just be gambling. And then like, oh, I got to cut it off because people are going to start showing up. So then I would like go to the bar, pretend like I had been there early. Or like, oh, I had decided to come early, get happy hour food or something like that. Just making up stories to like still remain in action before like hanging out with my friends. And then eventually it really started getting bad right when I started at Sanctuary, because then like I've of course met up with the guy who was like sports gambling, but he showed me all these like black sites like you could like gamble online, because this is before sports gambling was legal in the US. So I was sports gambling way before it was like proper, on all these crazy sites like Russian tennis and like just anything, because like it was just like the bars will eventually close. And I don't have a car at this point, so I can't get down to the casino. So I was like, what am I going to do at 1:50 in the morning? Well, just go online and just try to stay in action as best I could, betting on anything and everything I possibly could online. And it was just crazy. Like, it was just like, but that was the norm. I would just be sitting up at my computer.
Russian tennis, I like it.
I mean, yeah. But it was just like this ideal of like just this constant need to just stay in action all the time. And so then, this was 2016. Me and Jelsa had just gotten married, and I was like, all right.
And you had this whole secret life that she didn't even have a clue.
She didn't know. My ex-wife didn't know, because they always just thought I was drinking.
You imagine, like, our drinking and stuff, like, if it would have been completely, like, they didn't even think we drank. Isn't that crazy?
I thought that for a while, but she knew.
Yeah. But that was the wildest part because, like, again, freshman or at 21, I was like, this is perfect. Like drugs and alcohol are great, but like gambling is where it's at because no one knew. No one had to know anything because it doesn't. I mean, we learned later that it changes physical chemicals in the brain the way that that drugs do, but you couldn't tell outside of me not sleeping and like a lot of the this is like very like manipulative and very like hidden behavior. There was no physical components that would have changed or that did change when I was gambling. And so I was like, man, I can do this forever as long as I have money. And then when the money started running out or when like I'm married now and we have a joint account, I'm like, oh, what am I doing to do with this? Like I can't.
Did you have a secret account?
Mm-hmm.
I had one of those.
Yep. He still does.
No, I don't. I don't have anybody to hide it from.
Yeah, so then I was like, okay. I was like, well, like so
I just don't combine accounts.
I don't either.
Yeah.
It's a secret account, Scott.
Oh, I thought you meant with your. Well, you don't. I'm talking about with my better half. I don't have a joint account with my better half.
Oh.
We have our own separate.
Yeah.
So it's the only guy I got to hide it from is me, which sometimes I do. It's like, don't tell him that we have money over in that other account.
Forget to log in for the bank.
Yeah.
Cut up this card.
Yeah, so then I like started having my separate account and just was like, I was like, oh man, like so every time I would have these like ATM withdrawals, just be like, why are you taking out so much cash? I was like, God. So then I would just like, oh, but again, I was like, oh, I was always at the bar. So in her mind, it was just I'm always drinking.
You'd rather be an alcoholic.
Yeah, I'd rather be a
gambling addict.
Yeah, because I was
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I suppose because then you're like, I guess I quit, and then you just quit drinking, and it's just like not a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm good, honey.
And then you look like a superstar. You're like, really good job on quitting drinking. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna come right home right after work and be on my computer because it's like again I can stay in action however I want to. Like,
Babe, I'm feeling like drinking tonight. I'm gonna go hang out on the computer.
yeah, I'm just gonna be downstairs just chilling.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yep, I'm good.
That's
She's like,
funny.
okay. Yeah. It was just it was just crazy. Like, but that was like the justification. It was like, well, but not alcoholic, not doing drugs anymore. Like, this is the better choice for me. Mm-hmm. Until it was like, okay, I can't keep myself in action anymore. I can't keep enough money in my own secret account. I have to like steal. Well, this person for this wedding is paying, however much money in cash for whatever. So I was like, oh, sweet, And then I don't report that we're like, or if they did an upgrade and paid $600 in cash, I was like, all right, perfect. I'll take that $600 and just not report that we upgraded or that we had this upgrade for whatever it was, and just kept pocketing it and just kept that with keeping my like personal account funded. My checks from the company would continue to go to my joint account, and then I was like, oh man, this is like the perfect system. Just this in my mind, right? Just this perfect system. And I remember it was December 26th of 17. My former boss at the time and I went to Dempsey's because I never gambled when I went back home because you would get caught. It's too hard. Like family's constantly around, Chelsea's around. Like I couldn't be on my computer because then my mom would be up. It just never worked. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna gamble. I spent like, I don't know, $250. I was like, all right, cool. You know what? This is good. This like felt good. And I was like, I lost it all, but I was like, all right, you know what? It happens. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go home, spend the 2 weeks away, and just come back. I'm like, all right, man, let's just start fresh. Let's stop the stealing. Let's just get back to it. Like, really, like my mind was like, all right, this is what I'm really gonna like change. But I knew I wasn't gonna change. But it was just like, this would be a good 2-week break for me to like really reassess. And then I get back that I think it was like a Wednesday or Thursday. And then so I get back Wednesday night, go to work that Thursday, open my office. 2 of the owners are there and 2 detectives are there. And I'm like, whew, okay. I was like, and I obviously I know why they're there. And then detective asked, do you know why we're here? And I said, yep. And they said, why are we here? And I said, well, I've been taking money from the company, been depositing, funds from just siphoning funds for the past year and a half or whatever, because I have a gambling problem. And that was the first time in like my life that I ever like said out loud to anybody that I had a gambling problem, because this was like my thing. And because I felt like I had a choice. I'm like, either I'm going to continue to just lying and keeping this secret and just, just ride it out and see what happens, or just admit it, take the consequences, and maybe try something different. So of course, get let go home. Not only like it was great, like not crazy. It was just one of the hardest conversations. I had to tell Jelsa, not only did I just get fired for stealing from work, but I had to tell her that I had a gambling problem. And she was like, okay. So she just took her purse and like walked out, just like gone. Called mom. She was like, okay, call your father. Click. So I called my dad. And he was like, you what? Like just absolutely floored. Because again, no one knew. And then and I was like, how long you been gambling? I was like, I don't know, Dad, 21. And I was 33 at this point. He was like, you've been doing this for 12 years? You gamble every time you come to California? Like, no, I don't gamble in California because you guys are always around. Like, oh yeah, that's supposed to make it better. I don't know, just like, just all the things. Like, I'm just like, I couldn't, after like just like getting this like pressure off of like, okay, I'm just gonna like just tell everybody, because in my mind I was like, all right, sweet, like Jelsa left. I don't know where she's going. I don't have a job anymore. I have this gambling problem. I'm just gonna like absolve myself of all my sins, just completely confess everything, and then kill myself, because I'm like, I don't want to live in a world. I don't want to live without this. I don't want to live without gambling. I don't want to live without facing my consequences. I want to just end it, because I just need to clear my palate. So that night, I remember like going to the store, like researching like how to like cure yourself with pills, and I was like, all right, bought like a big handle of like Crown, and I was like, all right, sweet, I'm just gonna take all these pills, drink all this, and I'm just gonna like coast into the night and just be done. Mom called me, and she was just like talking to me, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, God, Mom, just get off the phone. Like, I just want to kill, like, but I felt like I couldn't do it when she was on the phone, so I just wanted to get off the phone, but she just wouldn't. So she just kept coming up with things to talk about, and I'm like, and we were talking about anything and everything that wasn't relevant to anything. It was just like asking about the house, asking about Jelsa, asking me about, are you going to stay in Fargo? I was like, I don't know. And again, I'm just trying to like speed up the conversation, but she just would not get off the phone. And so finally I was like, all right, Ma, it's 10 o'clock. I'm like, Ma, I'm just exhausted from the day. Like, I just want to go to bed. She's like, okay, well, just plug your phone in, and I just want to stay on the phone with you. I'm like, oh, just roll the hardest roll of my eyes. I'm like, fine. So I just literally just say that. So I plug my phone in. She's like, put me on speaker. I was like, so I put it on speaker, put it on the nightstand. She was like, you still there? I was like, yep. I'm just getting in bed. She's like, okay, I'll be here. So like, I go to sleep. I wake up. Phone, like, she's still on the phone. This is 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, her time, give or take. Still on the phone. Like, it was still like, remember seeing the timer? It was like 6 hours, something like that. Our phone was connected. She just stayed on the phone. I was like, Ma, you're still on the phone? She's like, huh? What? Like, Ma, you still there? She's like, yeah. And I was like, why did you stay on the phone? And she just said that I felt in my spirit that I wasn't supposed to let you go. And I was like, what do you mean you weren't supposed to let me go? And she was like, I don't know. God just told me to not let you go. And then I just broke down crying. I just started bawling. And I was like, well, I mean, thank you for staying on the phone, because I was going to kill myself. Like I just didn't know what else to do. And she was like, well, why was that your choice? And I was like, because I don't know how to live. My entire adult life has been addicted to something. So now that I don't have anything, I don't drink, wasn't drinking, I wasn't doing drugs. Now I don't have gambling. I don't have anybody. She was like, well, you have me, you have your father, you have all, like, just because Jelsa walked out, she might come back. Like, like there's still more things to live for than just this one situation. And I was like, okay. So I was like, what do you want to do? She asked me, what do you want to do? I was like, well, if I don't want to kill myself now. Like, it just feels weird now to still do it.
Now that you know.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to do it now. And she was like, okay, well, I thank you. I'm glad that you still want to stay alive. So she was like, well, would you go to a meeting? like an AA? And I was like, yeah. At this point, I'm like, I just feel so isolated and so lonely and just alone. Like I want to I'll go whatever you say. So she goes online. She finds the clubhouse, which turns out is like literally 2 blocks around the corner from my house where we were staying. And so she calls somebody. So she puts me on hold, or hangs up the phone, calls somebody. I don't know who even answers a line at the clubhouse, but it's called somebody and said they have a meeting at noon. And so she's like, you better go to be at that meeting at noon, or I'm going to, like, if you don't go, I'm going to fly out and beat your ass. And I'm like, my mom doesn't again, very threatening black woman. I was like, she very much will just come out here and beat my ass. So I was like, okay. I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, didn't know about like AA protocol and like, who you see here, I didn't know any of the things before, but I just knew for sure that like somehow that she would find out that I didn't go. So I walked over and I remember.
Oh, she would have.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. For sure.
She would have walked in at me and be like, has Ricky been here?
Yeah.
And people would have broke your anonymity real quick. They'd be like, I have not seen him.
Nope. I don't know.
I have no idea who you're talking
so
about.
I go and like, I remember the faces of all the people. It was like a super small meeting, but I go in and like I have no idea what's happening. But like this you can still smoke in the clubhouse, so everybody was just smoking in there, and I'm just like, just all right, So then like okay, we're gonna go upstairs. I was like, okay, cool. You want some coffee? And I was like, sure. This is the worst coffee I've ever had. But I was like, all right, this is yeah. But I was like, all right.
Want a cigarette?
It's like, they didn't offer me a cigarette. Now that I think about it, but they did offer me coffee. So then we went up to like one of the little like breakout rooms or whatever that's upstairs in the clubhouse, and then we start going through the blue book, and I had never seen the blue book before, and so just going through all these things, and then they asked me, did I want to share anything, and I said no, and they were like, that's cool, don't everyone has to share, and like, but everyone was just like so friendly and just welcomed me there, and like just hearing the stories was like, wow, like man, I thought my life was bad. There was some people who really went through some crazy stuff that I was like, this is a lot deeper than what I was gonna kill myself over this. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those things. And I kind of just like chuckled to myself of like, that's where I felt. And these people are, one guy, he had only been clean for like 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure he was probably still drunk, but I don't know. But like, he was like, he just came in. He was like, man, but this is like where like I just keep coming. Like this is where life is. And I was like, sheesh. But that's what I needed to hear. I needed to hear that this is where life was. And so then eventually I just stayed, called my mom, said, Mom, I checked in. I'm here. And like, there's nothing for me at home except, I told her, and she was like, all right, well, when you go back home, like you got to dump the booze, dump the drugs, do all the things. And so I was like, I'm just going
Get
to
rid of the chips.
Yeah. Well, I didn't tell her that.
Poker chips.
Yeah.
I knew where you're going.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
I just stayed there. I just stayed at the meeting. And she was like, that's fine. Just stay there. I was like, all right, I'll call you after every meeting. So I just went to the next one.
Yeah.
And I stayed it for like 4 meetings.
And then some guy came up to him and was like, I bet your name is Ricky.
Well, I did recognize like one of the people there who had, like I recognized, and I said, hey, he's like, I know you're an alcoholic. And I was like, I'm actually not. My mom, but I didn't say, I was like, my mom was going to call. It was a whole big thing. And he was like, oh, why are you here? And I was like, well, I have a gambling problem. So then he introduced me to my first sponsor, who like was an alcoholic and also a gambling addict. And he's like, oh, well, we have GA. Have you ever heard of that? And I was like, dude, I never even heard of A before today. So I have no idea. So he's like, so that's when I went to GA and I met all the people there. And then those stories were like a little bit more aligned into what I did and just how I felt. And it was just like one of the wildest, like just getting connected with a group of people that like understood what you're going through and even tighter knit, had like really like truly just changed my life. And from there, like I found out about Gambler's Choice and just a number of other treatment programs that I went through. And I was just, kind of like to tighten up the story, just found all the things from just that kind of core group. And the clubhouse still has a special place in my heart because like that's, really was like the first place that kind of got me connected with other people who were living in recovery, who were like, hey, it's possible to do this, that you can be, that you can live and just give yourself life. And long as you come and long as you read your books, check and respond, like all the things that kind of just came out of it. And so I go back every once in a while just to like see if I see people or just whatever, and just to kind of have that reconnection of things again. Yeah, and so now it's been 6 years and 6 months. Yeah, it'll be 6 years and 6 months on the 27th.
Cool.
So it's been just a kind of a wild journey.
What's the hardest part? Like, what's the biggest struggle for you since you quit?
Yeah. Honestly, I still see the people that I used to gamble with. Because they're in the bar still. Or like when I'm out with my friends or whatever, and I still see them, and I still say hey and still kind of talk to them. I didn't at first, but then I think, yeah, Scotty had brought up, like, you told your story when I first started at 5 about like that guy who saw you in the motorcycle.
Tony,
yeah. So hearing that story, because it was the opposite for me. It was like, I can't see the people that are still gambling because, oh my God, I'm going to catch whatever they have. Or just like, I have to like isolate myself and just be only in recovery and not around the people. And then coming to F5 was like, well, we're all around people like inactive. So it was like, oh, this is actually okay. And I didn't have any like temptations or whatever. So then it was like, okay, I need to just start befriending people and just like becoming connected. And which is like one of the best things is like, I have a sponsee and like just other things started happening because of like not being afraid to connect with those people. But it's still hard because it's like I still remember a lot of the situation that we got ourselves into that they had no idea. And they were like, wow, you're out, and thinking I had gone to jail. I was like, no, I never went to jail, but like they just didn't see me anymore. They just assumed that I was like in jail or dead because that's pretty much where all roads lead to. And so I think it's difficult still seeing them, but it's
So
hard.
like driving by casinos, lottery tickets, nothing.
Yeah, but it was always
a poker table
but it's the people
that we're sitting at.
Yeah, it's just for me. It's the people because it was before it was like getting away from the people, and now it's so much about the people. And so now it's like if I'm starting to like pull away from people, then I know like, okay, I need to go to a meeting. I need to check in. I need to like, because that's very much not me. But that's who I was beforehand. It was like, it was just me. I wasn't so isolated, which put myself in that place. So now I try to find myself just around people that like obviously are going to support me, that are going to encourage me, that are going to be in recovery, that are going to like.
But you can't watch movies like The Gambler.
No,
or
I watched Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler.
Oh my God!
I walked out of that movie.
Oh, I got the butterflies in my stomach watching that movie.
Have you ever seen 21? I think it's 21.
But I saw it before.
Yeah, but at this Uncut Gems though is like
but
the
camera ain't like
level.
They are like all of the experiences and the things that you're seeing from Adam Sandler's eyes.
Yeah,
was like all the things that I felt and was doing, and like all this like
brought everything back.
like 21's is fantasized or whatever, but like Uncut Gems or The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg or whatever, when he's just like losing everything and he's still, you know what I mean, like. But Uncut Gems is
like all the things.
Trap house gambler.
Yeah.
Like,
and it was just.
Yeah. I always just think of that when Al Pacino went into the GA meeting. And they're like, dude, you're the guy that does all the show with the gambling. Get out of here. It's like, well, if any of you relapse, here's my number. It leaves his card. It's like, oh, man.
yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So it's been there's definitely. It's one of those things that's like, well, just when you think you're like, okay. And I was like, oh, this should be fine.
So let me ask you this. Does the like, because you do a lot of stuff in the bars, with your gig and your gigs, do like the new, having these e-slot machines or the e-tab machines or whatever, does that ever bother you? Like the noise of it or anything? Yeah?
Yep. So I usually, which is wild. So I had a show at Four Bears a couple weeks ago, and like I had to walk in with headphones because it was just like, it's just too much.
Just a ding, ding.
Just a constant ring. It's like, it's the ringing. It's just like it's It's just the ringing. So usually, even when you're going to like bars now, like they have them either like in different corners or like the machines are doing all the things, but like I just don't listen. I just tune it out, or I just walk in with headphones if I need to, because sometimes it can just be too overwhelming. Because just hearing it is like, it's so, I don't know if this makes sense, but like it's just piercing. Like it just cuts through whatever I'm like listening, or that's, you know, if I have headphones on, but like it just like I can hear it and I just know exactly what's happening. I know when someone's won, I know when someone's just like betting crazy. Like you just, I don't know, it's just a really weird thing, but like I can hear it. So it's like, okay, I have to like sit this way to just focus on the TVs or just focus on the person I'm with. And even then it's hard because you still just hear it. So then it's just like, you know what? But Justin's been really great at like just knowing like I gotta go, and I just leave. Like, and like, I'll get a ride home, I'll take an Uber home, then I'm done that, or I'll just walk home, whatever. Like close my tap, here's some cash, whatever. Just like I gotta go. I can't do it. Sometimes some days are better than others, but she's been like, it was weird the first time I did it. She was like, "You okay?" No. "Oh, want to talk about it?" "Nope.
Just want to go."
"Yep, just want to go. I need to get out of here." And she was like, "Okay." And then we talked about it later, and she was like, "Oh, I had no idea." Because again, you don't think about it, and you're just. I was like, "Yeah, no, I hear it. I know it, and it's just it cuts right through everything, and I can't think. I can't have a conversation." It's like, no, I gotta get out. I gotta go.
Yeah. I like in with alcoholics or whatever, we have like the different classifications. You got like the hard drinker, the real alcoholic, there's like, I don't know, in the big book there's like 4 different categories.
4 categories, yeah.
But I like whenever I went to the casino, I'm like, I wonder if I'm like a hard gambler, because I'm not a big fan. Like normally we'll like play poker or something for like $20 or whatever. It doesn't get me going to like, I need to go to the casino, right? Like it doesn't like create this craving. But if I find myself in a casino or whatever, and I'm like, playing slots or 21 or something like that, I won't leave.
Right.
Like if I'm in it, I'm like, I'm playing every machine on the way out. Like I'm gonna leave, and then I start leaving, and I'm like, but I bet I can win on that one. And I'll just, next thing I know, I'm at the door, and I'm like, how did I get here? One time I went with Scott, and I made him drive me all the way back to Fargo from Minneapolis because I was so just broken from how much money I just lost. I was like, I'm never going to a casino again.
Yeah,
I've been back twice.
Let's go.
Maybe 3 times.
Like, all right. Yeah, but I mean that's all. Science.
But it takes a lot for me to go. Like the whole time I'm like thinking like about going. I'm like, I'm just gonna lose. I'm not gonna go. So like if I sit there and stew on it for days, right, and then I go, and then it happens, and I'm like, and so I won't go again for like months. So I think I'm like a hard a hard drinker. Like a sufficient enough reason, I'll quit, and I won't want to do it anymore. But like for alcohol, like I mean, it's got to be a miracle of God for me to quit. Right. So I like when I watch Uncut Gems or The Gambler or something. Man, my butterflies in my stomach, and I'll like ask myself, I'm like, if I'm ever in the position to put money like $20,000 down on a bet, would I do it? I would, just to know what it feels like.
Right.
That's why I don't go. It's kind of like people buy, like, they're like, why don't you get a crotch rocket or something like a motorcycle? Because I'll die.
Right.
And then you have the people who actually will do it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, I think.
Very similar.
Yeah.
So. Anyways, Ricky, appreciate you telling your story. Absolutely. It's different, but it's not unique. And I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yep. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got out.
Yes.
And I'm glad you got with that 5. Ricky and I used to make some good road trips.
We did.
When we first started, when we were traveling all the time, and some deep conversations. So I knew a lot of the stuff he was talking about, and just, and it's always kind of funny because, it's probably the same for you. Like people they'll sit, are you okay if I drink? If I have a drink? It's like, yeah, I'm not going to drink. So, and if I do, it's not going to be one. It's like you. I'm not gonna gamble in a friggin' E-machine. I'm going to Vegas.
Right.
You know, I mean, so it's like.
So if we went on a road trip and then like I would be like, hey man, you mind if I play some blackjack?
I'd probably sit in the car.
What if it was a bar?
Yeah.
Like if you were sitting
Pool
at the bar.
tabs.
I would sit at the bar. Cause usually,
But you wouldn't sit near us. Oh.
Because usually, like, that's the hard. Like that was like I was like at Four Bears. Like I didn't even drink because I was like they literally had it in the bar. Like the machine was built into the bar. The screen. I was like I haven't seen that since Vegas, and I was like, well, I can't even get a drink.
Mistake Lake does. Yep. They call it Mistake. We call it Mistake Lake.
Oh.
That's where we were at when he looked at. It was one of those. It was like leaving Las Vegas. He looked at me in the hotel. We were sharing a room because I had a free room. It cost us a lot more than what the room would have cost us. But he looked at me and he goes, "This feels like a fucking hangover." He said, "I feel like I've been drinking all night." He goes, I said, "You just want to go home?" And he goes, "Yeah. You okay with that?" Because we were supposed to go to the Wild game. And I'm like, "No, we can go. Let's just cruise."
Yep.
But it was like.
That next, because we had 2 nights that we could stay there. So we stayed the first, like we went and gambled, then we went to the game.
Yep, the Timberwolves game.
Yep, and then we went back and gambled for a little bit. Yep. Nothing real bad.
No, I think I even won.
Yeah, and then we went to bed, and then I woke up the next morning, and this is where I was like, this is where I knew it was like addictive or whatever, because I woke up, it was like 9 a.m., and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to head to the floor, guys.
Right.
And I was like, the only other time I've ever done something like that is drinking.
Right.
And we were there for a while. Like it was almost nighttime.
It was after 6 when we left, almost 7 o'clock.
And there's no clocks in this goddamn place, so I'm like,
there's no light.
I'm gauging the time on how much I've lost,
right,
or whatever. And so then finally, I'm like, I can't. If I do anymore, I'm gonna ruin my life. I was like,
the crazy thing is, I started winning, so I'm like, well, I'm just gonna stick around here.
Right.
I was like, no, you're not. We're leaving. I'm done. We cannot stay here anymore.
You're done.
I was calling my friends. I was like, I need help.
Said, I'm never going to vacation with you again. No. That's when he put me on mandatory vacation.
I wasn't even on vacation.
He puts me on mandatory, and I said,
like,
hey, I want to go to the game with me? He's like, I said, I got a free room at the casino. Okay, I'll go with you.
Yeah, so I took 2 days off of work, and then I was like, this is stupid. Scott and I should never be left alone to go on any kind of trip. Ever.
Oh, yes, we should.
Well, I'm glad that you and I can have trips together. So yes. That'd be just fine.
We could travel, Ricky. Appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Well, thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
F5 Recovery Radio, where we spent some time talking about different kinds of addiction and recovery. And Ricky, thanks for telling your story. Shout out to our sponsors again. FI Project, The Ridge Treatment, The Ridge Treatment and Reentry Center, Heat Transfer Warehouse, H9 Nutrition, GoAwayBear.com, and Shirts from Fargo. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.